At the moment, many of us are stuck at home, and I've noticed both on this YouTube channel and on my little website that there are more and more people searching for information on how to record their piano at home. So I thought, given that it's a complex topic, I might do a quick home recording 101 video. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. Hi, this is Tommy with Tommy's Piano Corner, the place for returning pianists or indeed anybody who loves piano to share some tips and ideas of how to get the most from this great hobby. If it's your first trip here, then please do think about subscribing. Simply hit the little icon in the bottom right hand corner of your screen now and it's all done for you. When I first decided to try recording my piano at home to keep a record really of the progress I was making, or sometimes lack of progress in honesty I was making, I first started just to use my phone perched up against the end of the piano and record things. And to be honest, the result was sort of okay, well, not really particularly good. Even when using a beautiful Steinway concert grand, as I did when I visited Steinway Hall in London, you don't get a fantastic result just using your phone. So I thought, well, let's see what would be involved to be able to get a better result. And I started watching hours and hours of videos. I was reading blogs, ebooks, websites, even online stores to learn as much as I could. Of course, whenever you teach yourself something, part of the difficulty is that you don't know what you don't know, and therefore you quite often will need to listen, watch and read a lot of things that ultimately prove to be totally irrelevant for what you want, but you don't know until you've watched them that they're not relevant, if you see what I mean. So the aim of this home recording 101 video is really to help you fast forward through that process and allow you to focus in on the things that might be important to you. First, let me walk you through a simplified picture of what we need to create a recording of our music. Of course, we need to have the piano, and that creates the music for us, and that is then converted into sound waves. Of course, we need one or more microphones that capture those sound waves. Next, we need something that converts what the microphones have captured into something that can actually be saved. Afterwards, we need something to store those sound waves that we've converted. So back in the day, it would have been on perhaps magnetic tape. Now more frequently, it's things like MP3 files. As each microphone captures a separate recording, we next need something to combine these into a single recording for playback. And in order to do this, we'll use a mixer plus a set of plugins. A mixer allows us to modify the volume of each individual recording. Of course, the plugins allow us to add things such as reverberation and equalization. Finally, we need to store the end result so that we can play it back through speakers or headphones. The reason I've drawn the picture in this way, though, is specifically to show that in fact almost everything you need is available in pretty much any computer, tablet or smartphone. They all have one or more microphones. They all have storage. They all have an audio interface and speakers built in. And with a variety of free or paid apps, you can do the job of a mixer and plugins to create the final result. However, the quality you can obtain is of course limited by the built-in equipment, none of which was designed specifically with recording your piano in mind. So let's start at the beginning. Of course, the first thing you need is a piano. You'll never get an old, out-of-tune upright to sound like a Steinway concert grand, no matter how much money you manage to spend on recording equipment. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can't go elsewhere and play somebody else's piano if you know somebody with a much better piano than your own. In terms of our recording equipment, the first thing we need is a microphone to hear the sound. There are literally thousands of microphones on the market, with prices starting from a few dollars and going up to several thousands. There are microphone setups designed specifically for piano, as well as high quality microphones that are recommended for recording piano. If your end intention is to create commercial quality recordings, then you might want to think about significant investments here. If your main focus is just videos for Facebook or Instagram, then there's probably little point going overboard. After all, most people will listen through either the speakers built into their device, which aren't that great as you know, or the usual headset we all use for making phone calls. YouTube is probably somewhere in the middle ground where people listening might be somewhat more critical, so having a slightly better microphone would be better here. You'll find many microphone shootout videos on YouTube looking at how different microphones compare with each other when recording the same piano with all else being equal, so to speak. Let's not forget that a microphone is essentially a device that is sensitive enough to pick up the vibrations in the air caused by sound waves, okay? And these then need to be stored. So in order to store them, we need something that converts these sound waves into a format that can be stored. We'll do this conversion by means of an audio interface. As we discussed already, our devices basically have an audio interface built into them, although it isn't necessarily something you can actually see is there. However, if you're going for higher end microphones, then the vast majority of these do need to be used with a separate physical audio interface. Therefore, whilst considering your choice of microphone, do bear this in mind. Again, there are literally hundreds on the market at a vast array of price points. One of the major considerations for us is perhaps the number of inputs. Of course, we need one per microphone. And there are, of course, lots of other things to consider, such as power. Does it need to be plugged in? How big is it? What is it compatible with in terms of software? If you do decide you need one, then you will have to research this in detail. Pretty much all modern audio interfaces, of course, will now connect directly to a computer with a USB type connection. And perhaps even in some cases, you can plug them straight into a tablet or a phone. Now, the likelihood is that if you're going for a more complex, high quality setup, then you're going to be using more than one microphone. And of course, if you do this, you're going to need some way of combining the sound from these different microphones into a single piano track. And the way we do this is using what's called a mixer. In its most simple form, the mixer allows you to change the volume of each individual microphone to achieve the best balance. However, again, this can also be achieved with software. Whatever your choice of microphone or audio interface, you don't necessarily need a separate mixer as well. So let's consider the software. The main software we use is what's called a digital audio workstation, or DAW. This is basically a recording studio inside your computer. Again, there are lots of choices ranging from free software to expensive, very sophisticated suites. We can use this then to load the recordings from our different microphones and then do our mixing and everything else we need to create the final file. In the interest of time, if you want to learn about how to use a DAW, I invite you to watch these different videos that explain some of the basics to you. Another interesting option, depending on your needs, is an audio recorder. That's to say, a self-contained piece of equipment intended to capture and record your audio without you needing to plug it into a computer or anything else. Unlike the audio interface, of course, which doesn't record the sound, it simply converts it so that your computer can save the result. Therefore, you can use an audio recorder instead of an audio interface and then load the files it records into your computer later, a little like you do with a camera when you transfer the photos from your memory card into your computer. Effectively, my setup with my Shure MV88 plugged into my iPhone turns my iPhone into an audio recorder. Again, these come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes and prices. Some have built-in microphones, Others need to be used with external microphones. The advantage, of course, in using them is that if you're recording in different locations, you don't need to take your laptop with you and have it plugged in at the time you're recording. Regular viewers of my channel will know that the solution I adopted was to use my iPhone and to use a plug-and-play microphone. The microphone I use captures a stereo signal, which means that I don't need two of them to get a stereo recording. I can then either use software on my iPhone, my iPad or my computer to do all the rest, including of course video recording at the same time. Depending on your end goal, the setup I have might be perfect for you or might be totally inadequate for your needs. Now both Josh Wright and Paul Barton have done videos on their own home recording setup. In their setup, as well as having two external microphones, they also have an external audio interface that then plugs into their computer. On the plus side, this of course means that they can get much higher quality microphones. However, to replicate their setup would likely cost upwards of, $2,000 or more. And believe it or not, even at that kind of price range, we are still looking at something which in the grand scheme of things is relatively basic, though delivers excellent results, as you'll know if you watch their channels. Remember that if you're operating as a one-woman or one-man band, then the more equipment you use, the more difficult it becomes to manage the process and the longer, of course, it takes to set things up. I hope then that this video has helped to demystify some of the complexities around setting up your own home studio to record your piano. If you're not already, then please do subscribe to Tommy's Piano Corner. Don't forget to click the little bell icon so you're notified of new videos as and when they're released. I thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.